What is up, guys? Extra thick Kackis here after those holiday dinners. Let me tell you, thank you so much for stopping by, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new weapon added into Destiny 2 with the Season of Dawn. This is a really interesting weapon, and it has a lot of people's attention on a gun type that doesn't normally get it. But is this gun really that good, or is it a little overrated? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video, but first, thanks to my partnership with ASTRO, I'm giving away a pair of ASTRO A40s plus the mix amp. This is usually the part YouTubers manipulate video stats by telling you to like and subscribe to enter, but to enter, all you really gotta do is follow me on Twitter at RickKackis and tweet at me something with the hashtag ThickKackis. That's it. And you'll have a chance to win. If you're really impatient, you can always check the description. There's a link that gives you a discount to any ASTRO product and supports the channel. Definition of a win-win. Alright, now let's talk about this weapon. It's the Line in the Sand linear fusion rifle. And normally, linear fusion rifles are completely overlooked within Destiny 2. Obviously, other than right now with the Crucible ritual weapon being a linear fusion rifle that requires you to get a lot of linear fusion rifle kills to acquire. So the Arbalest especially is getting a lot of play right now, but aside from kind of being forced to, people are not really utilizing linear fusion rifles in everyday activities. There was a time back when the Sleeper Simulant was out that linear fusion rifles were absolutely in the meta when it came to boss DPS, for example. And, when the Queenbreaker was at its prime, Gambit was also ran by linear fusion rifles, not to mention the Sleeper Simulant again in Gambit. But since that point, and since those kings have been somewhat dethroned, you are not seeing people rocking linear fusion rifles when they could rock grenade launchers, sniper rifles, etc. in activities like raids, dungeons, kind of higher level stuff. So, what's so special about the Line in the Sand? What does this weapon bring to the table that could potentially, what some people are saying, make linear fusion rifles worth using in those type of activities? Well, it's the Perk Role. Firstly, it has the capability of getting rapid hit. Pretty unusual for linear fusion rifles. This makes it so that rapid precision hits temporarily increase stability and reload speed. We're really not interested in stability, it's the reload speed we're looking at, because with an accurate weapon like a linear fusion rifle, getting multiple precision hits in a quick succession is not that difficult, and then you're going to be reloading almost 50% faster with rapid hit times 5. And that means that if you're cutting down on the time you're reloading, you're increasing the time that you're shooting the target, therefore increasing your overall damage output. It really doesn't hurt that, unlike Outlaw and Feeding Frenzy, rapid hit can generate itself on one single target. If you're shooting a big bad boss, you can just shoot that same boss in the head 5 times in a row, reload super fast, and get back to shooting him, which is exactly what you want in a damage phase. But rapid hit is far from the only good perk this weapon can get. There's two other really interesting ones. The first one is a brand new one, Clown Cartridge. Reloading this weapon randomly overfills it from reserves. I know I said it was brand new, but it's new to Destiny 2. This was actually in Destiny 1, and it was one of the better perks you could get there, especially for things like rocket launchers. Suddenly you reload and you got 3 rounds in a magazine for a rocket launcher? Sign me up! With this weapon specifically, as you can see, I normally have 5 rounds in a magazine. Sometimes Clown Cartridge gives me only 6, which is not great, but sometimes it gives me up to 8 rounds. And going from 5 to 8 in something like Destiny, that is actually pretty darn substantial. I could actually throw on a backup mag mod if I wanted to increase that even more so, and that is also going to increase your overall damage output. If you have 8 rounds in a magazine, you're going to spend more time shooting and less time reloading, and even less time reloading if you combine that with rapid hit. However, there's actually another perk this weapon can get that's actually kind of overshadowing Clown Cartridge, and that is Firing Line. This weapon deals increased precision damage when near 2 or more allies. firing line is one of the key components in the most powerful, most damaging sniper rifles, specifically legendary sniper rifles in Destiny 2, and it can finally spawn on a linear fusion rifle. This is actually the first time you can get firing line with a linear fusion rifle. And again, it's proven itself fantastic for snipers. Linear fusions should be the same way, right? Well, we can actually see that increase in damage. I'm normally hitting around 21,000 on this ogre with my clown cartridge roll, but if I switch to my firing line roll with liquid coils, I am capable of reaching up to nearly 27,000 damage. That is a pretty significant increase. And so all of these things on paper are looking quite good. Rapid hit plus firing line. The first time ever we're getting firing line on a linear fusion rifle. This thing should just put out so much damage, right? Well, I took it into the Pit of Heresy, for example, and it does put out a decent amount of damage. Like with the bonuses of a buff and a debuff, I was chunking for around 50,000 damage per shot, and that is absolutely nothing to scoff at. And I mean, with a team of all 3 people using this weapon with firing line, you may even be able to one-phase this guy, but is there other easier alternatives? Well, when I was testing my roll with clown cartridge and I was shooting the crap out of this guy, we stayed until the end to look at the damage numbers, and as you can see, although I really wasn't that far behind with nearly 500,000 damage, I was still definitely behind. The other 2 guys using Anarchy plus sniper rifles just completely overloaded me, and in fact, if you weren't using Anarchy and if you were using Izanagi's Burden, they'd probably do even more potentially. And here we kind of find some of the problems of this weapon. It looks good on paper, and it's certainly not a bad weapon to use when you're actually playing the game. You know, when I'm running Sundial, and you can see in the background gameplay, it's actually chunking for quite a bit. Firing line is very often active in a 6-player activity. There's just people around you all the time. But if we actually realistically look at this weapon and compare it to sniper rifles, I mean, as you can see here, again, I'm hitting for 21,000 damage about on this ogre. If I switch to the rapid fire frame sniper rifle, I'm hitting for 11,000. So that's half the damage, but I'm shooting more than twice of the speed, as you can see. Then if I go to the highest impact sniper rifle, which is this new trophy hunter, I'm hitting for 18,000 damage. That is really not too far behind, and, you know, I don't have to charge this up, so the fire rate is probably faster on this sniper rifle, and it's a special weapon. I'm doing just 3,000 damage more with a heavy weapon, and heavy ammo is way harder to get, especially consistently, for my line in the sand, whereas this trophy hunter, if I put on a bunch of sniper rifle ammo finders, I'll almost have too much ammo on my hands. Like, you are really able to shoot something like the trophy hunter so much more, engage enemies so much more, because the ammo is so much more plentiful, because it's a special weapon. So we really need to be comparing the line in the sand with stuff like the Prospector, I mean, the Love and Death grenade launcher, the Swarm of the Ravens grenade launcher, and those still massively outdamage it. Those still inflict area of effect damage, so they're much more effective against groups of enemies, whereas the line in the sand is very much a precision weapon. And so at the end of the day, I think although this is probably the best legendary linear fusion rifle in the game, legendary linear fusion rifles just aren't good enough for those high-level PvE activities. But if they ever are buffed, if Bungie, slips into some patch notes, linear fusion rifles do even more damage. They actually did receive a 20% precision damage buff with this most recent patch, and they're still like barely ahead of sniper rifles, as you can see by that damage test. But if they receive another buff, seriously, this is at the front of the line in the sand to use, and could really shoot into the meta, especially for PvE. So definitely worth getting your hands on a good roll of this weapon just as an investment in case they get buffed again. And if you are looking for that utter god roll, it's going to be liquid coils for increased damage, plus rapid hit, plus firing line, and then importantly a charge time masterwork. Masterworks usually don't matter as much, but with linear fusion rifles, charge time directly influences the rate of fire and how much damage you can output, so it really matters more here. But don't expect it to be a common sight in raids or anything. Using this weapon casually, as I've said, for sure you can do it, and it's really not bad. But again, a sniper rifle would just be better in pretty much every scenario. This is good. And so guys, that's it for the video. Just want to take a look at this interesting new weapon. I hope you enjoyed this, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at @RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.